I love to talk, so really it's kind of on you at this point.
Welcome to another episode of Coffee Break Convos with Jessica. Today, my guest is Erik Franklin. He is a comic artist, writer, actor, and filmmaker. He's known for his work on Defiance, his upcoming film Dawn, and his fan film, which is also upcoming Spider-Man 4 fan film.
Yeah.
He has been nominated in the 2022 Indie Short Film Fest as part of the Best Ensemble Cast for the film Raising the Stakes. Hello, Erik. Welcome to my show.
Th- Thank you. Glad to be here.
Can you tell us how you first got into comic art and storytelling? And what's your defining moment that really sparked your passion for this creative path?
Well, like like my dad loved reading comics as a kid. Like I grew up with them. To me, it was just like second nature to see them lying around. And when you're a little kid, you can't really read, so you're just drawn to the imagery. And I would see all these like cool looking characters and these fantastic worlds, and I'd ask a ton of questions like who's this guy? Who's this girl? What's this about? What's that? And then, of course, I think every kid draws at some point. But to me, drawing wasn't just something to pass the time. I really enjoyed doing it. My like 5-year-old brain couldn't grasp why I wasn't drawing as well as the pages I saw, but I kept persisting. I think my a defining moment. Okay, I forget what grade I was in, but I remember just like I was looking in the bathroom mirror, realizing that wait. I can make a comic and it's going to have my name on it. Nobody else's, just mine. I did this thing. And I don't know if they're in childhood developmental things. I think it was something like self-actualization moment or something like that. I'm probably
Hmm.
getting the term wrong, but I guess some kids discovered who they are by like, oh wait, I'm my own person. For me, it was the idea of like, no, I can make something that like that's just me, and that never really left me.
Oh, wow. So it really just sparked something in you.
Yeah, I mean, I did like what we call fan art because when you're a kid, like you kind of make up your own characters, but really it's just a copy and paste of this character that you really liked. And
Hmm.
like, oh, if this character is blue, my character is red, and that's it. But then the idea of like doing my own thing just really seemed appealing. And I mean, ironically, on my own YouTube channel, I draw a lot of fan art on there because that just brings in the views, to be honest.
Could you mention your YouTube channel for anybody who's interested and who wants to
Oh yeah,
watch?
Eric on Paper. It was a name I came up with last minute at when I was tabling at the Jet City Comic Show. I thought I should probably get an Instagram, and everyone knew me for my film work, and comics was relatively new to me professionally. So I thought in my head, I just thought, well, you're used to seeing Eric on film or on video. Well, this is Eric on paper, and I thought it was fun, and I've neglected to come up with a cooler name since then, so that's what I'm stuck with.
But I mean, it works, so it makes sense. Eric on paper and you're drawing on paper.
Yeah,
Makes perfect sense. Very
thank
on
you.
brand. Where did you learn to draw and develop your comic art skills? I mean, were you self-taught or were you taking classes?
Well, the thing is, my mom was also an illustrator, had studied college courses and things like that. So in a way, she was my first art teacher. That thing that you always hear of like, oh, your parents will love whatever you do, no matter what. I don't know exactly what that's like because I'd be, this is good, but your anatomy's off. And I'm like, can't you just like it, Mom? Like, do you want it really good or what? And I mean, yeah, she's right. It's pushed me to do better. But
Uh-huh.
I was largely self-taught for a while, and then during the pandemic, the Kubert School started offering online courses, for the general public, and I didn't want to fill out another FAFSA or relocate to New Jersey. No, no shade to New Jersey, I just couldn't afford it. But I thought, okay, well, I can develop skills here,
Hmm.
and got a lot of good feedback from my instructors. Mainly, what they said is that Eric, you have really good ideas, but and your rendering and your texturing is very strong, but you need to work on your core fundamentals like anatomy and proportion. And it took a while, but then I found a class at the Gage Academy up in Seattle, and their instructor, Breno. I took like a 2 day course from him on, it was an intensive that was like, I swear to God, it was like 8 hour days and I had to get up very early in the morning if I'm not a morning person. So like my first life drawing sketches of the day were just like thinking, they were not good. But then when my second or third win kicked in, I was finally getting something. But yeah, I would say Brano's course really changed me artistically and how I set things up. Actually, it was so funny. He looks over at my work towards the end of the session. He said, "Man, this is like night and day from when you first started to when you got here." And I want to be a good student, so I just say, "Oh, thank you very much." In my head, I'm thinking, "I know because I was a zombie in the morning. I could barely feel my face, and I'm trying to draw here."
Where do you get your inspiration from for all the stories and the characters?
Um, oh, it depends. Sometimes like an idea will strike me because like I'm thinking of something in the background and I'll just suddenly click. Sometimes I'll actually a lot of the times I love watching all kinds of films, good, bad films, whatever, and I'll see an idea and I'll think, well, they went that direction with it, but this is what I would have done. And then I kind of do like a little creative exercise and veer off and sometimes I'll think, should have gone with my idea. I mean, you don't know who I am, but other times it's just like I'll be in the world, I'll eavesdrop on a conversation.
Mhm.
I'm a writer, everybody eavesdrops, and
You just
but
use it in your work.
oh yeah, definitely. There's probably like there's so many uncredited writers in this world just because thank God for the advent of cell phones. Now I get to hear all the one side of all the drama. And like in college, I was waiting at a bus stop and heard this guy yelling at his divorce attorney about his failed relationship, and I was so angry that my bus showed up at that time because like, no, no, I want to hear more of this. Yeah,
Oh,
he's ended up in a script that I haven't quite finished yet, but your pain was in the service of art, sir, wherever you are.
so has your experience as a comic artist influenced your approach to filmmaking and storytelling on screen?
Yeah, I would say so. Definitely visually, I would say. A lot of the artists that I admire employ very dynamic camera angles and very stylistic lighting, which is something that I try to bring to my own work. But not just style for style's sake. It has to be appropriate, fitting the scene and things like that. But I've worked with you before on a film,
Hmm.
and you're okay, right? Like you recovered?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it took a while, but I've
I,
recovered.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
It was a
one
very
of
hard shoot. Eric is a very difficult person to work with, for
yeah,
anybody who wants to know.
I, I I demand perfection, even though I never give it myself.
There was a literal blood, sweat, and tears on that set.
Hey, I had to recast a guy just because he wanted to change a line. I mean, sure, the hospital bills that I had to pay were worth it. I'm just kidding.
No, Eric's great to work with. He's super fun.
Well, well, the thing is, even in the scene I worked with you on.
Hmm.
I it's like I wanted the rim lighting, that you get that you'll get, I wanted to look stylistic because if I want to see reality, I'll either go outside or I'll watch a documentary.
Hmm.
To me, the films I personally enjoy are the ones I end up going to see are very visual, and they don't have to be big special effects movies either. Just like a director and director of photography who collaborate and bring together a more unique perspective on the world.
Hmm.
Uh, because like sometimes, okay, I have to admit I love Tubi because I can find like let's just call them like backyard home movies of like, and the thing is I love the ones that are made earnestly. The ones where like these people are trying to make something with, their buddies from work and I'm rooting for them even if it's not turning out well. I'm like, man, you guys, your hearts are in the right place, but just work on it. You can do it. But when I
It's
see
the thought
people,
that counts.
oh yeah, I guess that's a glass half full way of looking at things.
Yeah.
I guess it's just when I see directors who just rely on the DP to say, "Oh, you control the visuals. I just want to work with the actors." I'm
Hmm.
just like, "Well, then direct theater,"
Mm.
you know. And because to me, it's like and visuals are so key to the cinematic language and experience, and that overlap comes, from the comic world. Like if you want to connect to a character in comics and in film, get a tight close-up. In film, you can get away with very subtle acting. In comics, you have to draw much bigger than you would see in real life. Like, if I'm just mildly, if I'm like really pissed off as a character, we've seen enough people in our day-to-day lives where you can do a subtle nuance and people will get it. In comics, your brow has to be so furrowed that, it's like your brows could cut ice. They're so sharp. Your teeth are bared, your eyes are flaring. And if we
It's
did
kind
that
of
in real,
like theater on paper.
yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Should have gone with that name. Thanks. Yeah, but
I
yeah,
mean, as you were talking about it, I was like, wait, it sounds like the theater on paper. Don't
but
worry, I
but
got you. I got you.
but yeah, yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. And also, we have to work in establishing shots as well, and set up environments and worlds. Now, granted, in comics, we can fade those away because, like an artist I really admire is the late great George Perez. He would draw a background in like every panel, and very good. Very
Hmm.
strong backgrounds and characters. And I think George, you are magical because like I do like one or two backgrounds and think, oh man, this is tough work. Yeah, but even like, okay, very, very quick aside because I love the story is this comic artist Tom Mandrake at the Cubist School. He taught me how to use environment to tell a story. Like we had to do a haunted forest, like, and I drew this guy running away from there or running through a haunted forest. And it was a competent drawing. Everybody could tell what it was.
Hmm.
But he, for example, suggested, well, you can have a tree, like branches, like going around the guy like a claw, where he's like just running, he's a little figure here, and it looks like this tree is out to get him, even though it is kind of a visual metaphor. And the class obviously went on, but I'm just sitting here like with my head, absorbing all this information. Like, are you kidding? And then I'm looking at my storyboards. I'm like, I can do this here too.
And okay, so out of all of this, what one thing definitely popped into mind for me. What were some of the struggles that you dealt with when you were going into being a comic artist and a filmmaker?
Okay. Well, I mean, imposter syndrome kicks in big time. I think I can speak, but in a way, that's kind of a good thing because I think imposter syndrome keeps you in that state of always wanting to do better.
Hmm.
Um, it's a bad thing though if imposter syndrome talks you out of doing anything. Like if I said, oh, I don't know if I can draw because I'll never be as good as like George Perez, for example. And I think, well, that's an awful attitude to have because no, I will never be as good as George Perez. At the same time, I can be my own person. I don't even really draw like him, to begin with. And I think that's I guess the struggle for identity, realizing who you are as an artist, not just what you have to say, but how you want to say it is equally as important.
Hmm.
And the struggle, I think when we're kids, we've got it all figured out. We are, I think, far more intelligent people as kids. Then, unfortunately, you hit adolescence and adulthood, and you have all these figures telling you how you should be.
Hmm.
And if it's a trusted source, you believe that. But then it's like, I think that if you lose who you are, and everybody goes through this phase, like I'm never going to show anybody anything I created in junior high or high school. I can't even say, oh, it was full of angst. I'm like, no, it just sucked. But a struggle I had is looking for validation from other people, as if to say like, yes, this is a good idea, proceed with this one. And I've come to realize that like if you do a design if you come up with a story, let's just say a story, either film or comic, but by a committee, it's going to suffer because it may not be what's in your heart.
Hmm.
And like if you have your friends saying, "Oh, I think you should do this," you have a teacher or mentor figure saying, oh, you need to do this, and you try to split the difference, nobody's really happy, least of all you. And I struggled a lot with that in a lot of my early work. The few bits of it that work, that actually are successful to me were the ones where I stuck to my guns. And this isn't, I don't want this to come across as me saying, oh, I always knew better. Because, I didn't. But I'm just saying, I know the parts that made me the happiest working on it. And I think that that translates on screen or on the page.
I mean, what keeps you motivated when you're dealing with, let's say, writer's block or frustration within anything in entertainment?
Well, I look at my bank account and then I look at the stuff I want to buy. And then I think, oh, I got to get over this. No, but okay, but in all seriousness, I guess it's just the idea that, you know, like I could have this really cool thing done.
Mhm,
Like a script I'm writing now. I was talking with a friend of mine, Ren, and they're writing their own screenplay. I said, and they said, "Hey, do you want to show me your script?"
mhm.
And I'll show yours, and we can have a story jam session. And but like, okay, cool. And they're like, well, mine's at 70 pages. I look at the 25 pages mine is at. I'm like, okay, just give me some time and I'll get to it. But really that did light a fire under me because I guess it's like it's keeping yourself accountable.
Mhm.
Sometimes I think writer's block is somewhat of a luxury to have. And sort of like, yeah, you ever see like in those period dramas where they had fainting couches saying, "Oh, but I have a headache, I need to lie down." And to me, that's what having writer's block feels like. It's the brain just censoring too much. Thinking, oh, I saw this in this movie, so I can't use that, or I read this in this book, so I can't use this type of character.
Mhm.
And that's something I struggled with too. But then I started to realize, well, hang on a second. Some of the most popular things are derivatives of other things. Like, I'm a big horror nerd, and literally Friday the 13th, the producer said, let's rip off Halloween. And it's its own thing now. And the fan base fights over which masked character is cooler, is like their favorite. Entirely different topic, but the point is, like, not to get too hung up on that stuff. And also realizing, we're only on this world for a short amount of time. If you fuss too much, you get too precious with your work, you're not going to produce anything. And I think, I'm not getting any younger. I'm gonna tell these stories if you like it or not, you know.
I mean, you've worked as everything as an actor, as a filmmaker, as a comic book artist, as a writer. I understand from the actor and filmmaker side how difficult it is, and there are times when you just want to give it up and just back away from it. Have you ever had those kind of moments?
Um, yeah, I have very briefly. Usually it comes with frustrations with working with other people. And that's when I'm just thinking to myself of like, that's it. I just want to make comics because I can just sit here and draw and no one's telling me what to do. Well, until I get an editor. No one's telling me what to do. Uh, but then I guess what I realized though is like, then I realized, no, hang on, there's a lot of really cool people I'm going to be working with. I tell people this may sound very corny, but I'm a very corny guy, is that I I don't work with crews or actors. I work with friends. And not that I'm trying to win everyone over, but I think that, on my film sets, everyone just seems to have a really good time. Like, oh, the thing I think of as praise is when people say, "Oh, wait, we're done already? Oh, okay,
Mhm.
well, I guess I'll head home." And I think to myself, well, good. I'm really happy you're enjoying yourself that much because we've both been on sets probably where we're like, I could just be reading a book now, could be like taking a walk, I could be doing anything else. But no, I'm um but I think that yeah, the those doubts, that frustration creeps in, but then I kind of realize that like yeah, but I could lose so much just based on a moment of anger or frustration.
And any advice for anybody who's probably feeling on the low end of the spectrum?
Yeah, because I've been there multiple times too, is that I think that I will speak as an actor where I get my most frustration from, because it's a profession based around other people giving you permission, and that is very maddening, especially if you see a role that you think, oh my God, I'm this character, or I can nail this character, and for whatever reason, you don't get the character. For example, or you don't even get a callback, and you try to remind yourself it's not personal. I mean, ideally, it's not personal. They're you're not their vision. What I do then is I realize that the frustration I'm feeling, and I would tell anyone this too, is that you're not giving yourself power to do anything. It's up to somebody else, and that's probably why you're feeling that fatigue or frustration. So I just started writing material for myself. Or if you don't feel inclined to write, work with a friend or somebody and say, hey, I want to play this kind of character. And, people, I think, are storytellers by nature, some better than others. Some people get to the point, other people don't, to be polite. Hang out with your friends who get to the point and say, like, okay, if I said something where, hey, I feel like I want to play a spy, but
Mhm.
other than that vague idea, I don't know where to go from there. And even having a dialogue with a friend who has your best interest at heart could be like saying, oh, well, maybe are you like stealing intelligence? Are you trying to meet up with a contact or something like that? Just have a conversation, and then if you feel yourself starting to respond to how fun it would be and how cool this idea could be, and even if you want to do a visualization exercise of like if you're an actor or filmmaker, sometimes I just sit back and think about, okay, on the big screen, I could be seeing this image. Or if you're like me, a physical media junkie, holding the Blu-ray or saying, oh hey, that's mine. Or in the comic or art field, uh I don't draw web comics, so I can't really speak to that, but holding up like that floppy issue and saying like, there it is. I think visualizing that end result keeps me going, and then knowing I'll never have to look at myself in the mirror and say, I gave up. That would just crush me.
That is really very inspiring. I mean, throughout this entire journey as an artist in various different factors, what has it taught you about persistence in an industry that is ever changing and unpredictable and very volatile?
Huh, yeah, that's well, with persistence, I do have to say it does the industries that I'm in, they do weed out people very fast. Because like speaking to film, which you and I can both relate to. I mean everybody, everyone's like, "Oh, but it's fun to be an actor," until it isn't. Uh
I know what that's like.
Yeah, it's like I mean to me my absolute favorite place to be is on a film set. And it's like but getting there is the struggle, and I think that persistence is also me just being a stubborn AF person. And saying things like, "No, I said I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it." And with persistence, I think that it's like you do have to have a lot of faith in yourself, and that waxes and wanes sometimes, but then it kind of helps when I even talk to acting teachers or other actors saying, oh, I auditioned, I don't know, 60 times and I got 5 callbacks and 1 booking, and I think, oh, okay, that's good. That I thought that I was on the lower end of the spectrum, of the booking ratio, but I think that with that persistence is also, as I said, creating your own work. Because the awesome news is you're cast. If you're a comic artist or interested in anything like that, it's like, okay, so I submitted my portfolio to these companies. They didn't want to hire me. Well, I hate to say it, but it sounds like it's a skill issue, to use a gaming term. And the thing is, if Todd McFarlane, the creator of Spawn, if your readers don't know, if he can get rejected over 700 times, and finally he got hired. I mean, he kept upping his portfolio game and sending new work, which I think is crucial too. Of like, oh, I'm not booking. I must be terrible. Well, if that's how you feel, take an acting class. If you're like, if you said, oh, I made my first film and it sucked. Well, you're not Orson Welles. So, learn from those mistakes, make another one. And it doesn't have to be anything big. Just call up your acting circle of friends and say, hey, want to do like a little 5 minute sketch or like short film just, for me to practice on. I mean, you're asking an actor if they want to act. Really, I don't think that's that big a sell. And to be frank, I don't know. I've worked with some bigger named actors, but I think amongst, all of our friends circles, like, I don't know of any gigantic, huge stars who would say, oh, but I am too busy today. I'm like, yeah, we have work schedules, but to act like you're above any, come on, that's not going to happen. So yeah, with that persistence is realizing, no, I've got it. I have it. I just need to, you need to just chip away at it. I'm not one for mountain climbing, so I'm not going to use that metaphor, but I guess it's more like, if you're digging to plant a tree and like, oh, I tried to plant the tree too early and the tree died. Okay, well, what are you going to do? Never dig a hole again? Or are you just going to take the tree out, dig deeper, and then plant the tree, and then, you get like get a beautiful apple tree or something afterwards.
That's a very nice picture. I mean, looking back, is there something that you wish you knew before you started on this creative journey?
Yeah, a ton of things I wish I knew.